G'day everyone, this is John Wilson, Deputy Secretary of the Pirate Party of Australia. It's Tuesday the 8th of January. This is my Opus 3, third one I'm posting on my channel. Again, trying to keep them relatively short. This one may go a little bit longer than perhaps I'd hope. Look, tonight I want to talk about treason here in Australia. Okay, treason and the loss of sovereignty, Australia's sovereignty and our personal sovereignty. Okay, look, where I am at the moment, it's in a state of Australia called Queensland. Now, Queensland, when I grew up in the 60s as a young kid, particularly up in far north Queensland, we were always considered in Australia as rednecks. Okay, we were the oddballs in Australia. Perhaps the closest description I can give you is that we were like the southern states of America. All right, so we were quite often referred to as rednecks. We never ever complied, or certainly as much as we could. We never complied with the law. We had no respect for authority, and indeed we were always getting into trouble. Everyone up here in Queensland, mate, we had no respect for any authority of any kind, and as a consequence of that, developed a reputation of being like rednecks. Okay, look. Far north Queensland, there's, just to sort of give you a bit of an idea about some of the people that Queensland has produced. You might have heard of a guy called Julian Assange from WikiLeaks. Well, Julian originally come from Townsville in North Queensland, and Townsville is a regional sort of city or town now. It's got a big army base up there, Laverack Barracks, and you know, it's a beautiful part of the world. It's up near the Great Barrier Reef. Well, the Great Barrier Reef is just offshore there. So I want to talk about another guy that that comes from far north Queensland, a town called Cairns, Cairns, okay, which is north of Townsville. And again, it's a beautiful part of the world. I mean, this is a beautiful part of the world. And this guy's called ROMLEY STEWART. Okay, now Romley is a bit of a private guy now because he's uncovered some very, very, you know, interesting information that he's been, you know, threatened over. You know, he's had some serious threats made against him and his family, and he's had a lot of you know, authority, you know, levied against him and to try and intimidate him. ROMLEY STEWART has produced a body of work, several uploads on YouTube, generally under the heading of the Justinian Deception, right? And again, I'm not going to give you an academic critique because you know, that's not my job. You've got to have a look at this and sort of join your dots together yourself, but I'm just going to give you a couple of points on it. Look, Romley has discovered or uncovered how the authorities, right, the Vatican type authorities, the banksters, the global banksters, have usurped Australia's constitution and replaced it with an administrative type of constitution that relies on a type of admiralty law, okay? Not law of the land, but law of the sea. And he's traced it back to the Vatican, the Holy See. He's traced it back to Babylon and so on. But he's also identified some culprits in this in Australia who, you know, I'm very surprised at, because I know these people. I mean, one of them's former Prime Minister Gough Whitlam, who in 1974 signed Australia over to the mob involved with the Club of Rome. Okay, and Gough's been to my mother and father's house. So I'm very surprised about all this. You know, so that was one, you know, who sold Australia out and committed acts of treason. And I note also for the record that Gough was subject to some allegations by a survivor of sexual abuse called Fiona Barrett, or Fiona Barnett, I think, or Fiona Barrett, I think it is. She said some really, really ugly things about Gough, and at first I found it very difficult, very hard to choke those allegations down. But now, ooh, I think she may be right. So Fiona, I'm sorry for doubting you. You know, 3-4 years ago when you started going public with this stuff. Look, the other one is a former Prime Minister called Bob Hawke, you know, one of the longest serving Prime Ministers of Australia. In 1984 he introduced what they call the Australia Act, another act of treason. And you know, again, Bob Hawke has been connected to my family, you know, family sort of friends. My father, you know, he's a life member of the Maritime Union. We're all trade union boys, you know, or trade union family, and both Gough Whitlam and Bob Hawke are ALP, Australian Labor Party people. So again, that was difficult to choke down. But now I'm satisfied that Bob Hawke's been involved in this this stuff. Look, Romley Stewart has uncovered how they've gone about using language, right? Language and text to usurp our Australian sovereignty, but also usurp our individual sovereignty, so that you know, we cease to get natural law, law of the land, law of the justice of the land, and to move us onto an admiralty law. And it's a brilliant piece of investigative work, Look, so much so, I just want to read this this information that Romley, and not just Romley, there's a couple of others involved here. They took it and presented it to a former High Court Justice, and you know, he's retired. You know, he retired, and they took this work and they asked him to have a look at it. Right now, the former High Court Justice of in Australia, Sir Harry Talbot Gibbs. So Harry Gibbs, right? And I just want to read what Harry Gibbs has said about this, right? He says that, I am the former member of the High Court, and I wish to take this unusual method of informing you about a matter that's going to deeply affect us all. Unfortunately, a document such as this is too easily lost in the bureaucratic jungle in which we operate. Now, he's talking about the evidence and the information that this citizens group, Romley and others, have put together. He says, a group of Australian citizens have taken it upon themselves to test the validity of our current political and judicial system. Like you, I have lived my entire legal career with the assumption that the basis of our legal and political system, state and federal, was written in stone. This group have undertaken to present this paper when they test the legal system. This group is articulate, well educated, and counts for some of our best legal minds amongst its members. One of Australia's best known barristers is one of the group's leading lights. It is far better informed with regard to international law than most members of the judiciary, or for that matter, the legal academy. It has better international contacts than I would have thought possible. After spending some time with the group leader, I was able to elicit its primary intentions. He goes on and you know, articulates a bit, but he says, look, I've come to the conclusion that the current legal and political system in use in Australia and its states and territories has no basis in law. None. It's not legal. That's our entire court system and all of our political system, our parliaments, state and federal and local parliaments. They have no basis in law. They're unconstitutional. So, you know, this is a big deal. This is a really big deal. So I'm going to put it out. It's primarily for interest of my fellow Australians, but for my overseas friends, my British friends, and you know, my USA friends, European friends out there, you may get a lot out of this as well. Spend the time and have a look at some of this stuff. Truly, It will blow your socks off once you start wrapping your mind around it. Okay, Australia's been usurped. Our constitution has been replaced, with a document, an unconstitutional document. We're now working to administrative law, like an admiralty law, and acts of treason have been committed. Acts of treason. And some of the players in this, two former Australian Prime Ministers, and I know both of them. I personally know both of them over my history. My father in particular knew both of them well. My father was an old waterside worker, a longshoreman to my, to my American friends. A wharfie, and tough old guy. In the end, before he died, he got an OAM, an Order of Australia medal, off the Queen of England for services to charity, because after he retired, he put a lot of work into doing stuff for charity. But look, guys, I'm going to put links, I'm going to put other information there, so check it out. It's very, very interesting. ROMLEY STEWART, the Justinian Deception. Have a look at his birth certificate ones. That's a 40-minute one. Have a look at that one. Wow, very interesting. When I grew up, if you wanted to get your birth certificate, you had to go down to the Department of Births, Deaths and Marriages, government department, government building. But not now. If I want to get my birth certificate now, I've got to go to a bank, the Commonwealth Bank in Australia. The banks have custody of our birth certificates. We are collateral to the banksters. The banksters own us. Very interesting, people. Okay, I'm going to keep doing these opuses. I'm going to keep just sort of putting information up. I want to try and string them together eventually. They're all homemade, not edited. I don't know how to do any editing, but I'm hoping that they're good enough for you to get some valuable information. Thanks again, everyone. Good night.